How lifestyle and maybe generally the healthy diet affects fertility, if in any way? Could you maybe share some data on that?
Lifestyle definitely affects fertility. So now we have some data showing that probably about 30% of the cases of the couples that have infertility problems are attributed to lifestyle choices. So definitely we have factors like obesity coming in play, smoking, alcohol consumption, they all matter. What I am more involved in is the infertility problems that could be attributed to the exposure to certain chemicals. So one huge category of chemicals that we are being exposed a lot nowadays are called endocrine disrupting chemicals. You can find them as endocrine disruptors also. And these include from heavy metals to PFAS to dioxin. So there is a huge group of like thousands of chemicals, or maybe tens of thousands, and they all affect our endocrine system. So they can affect everything from the chances of getting pregnant, from the quality of the sperm. So they can cause infertility issues, but they can also cause adverse pregnancy effects like miscarriages or stillbirths, all these problems. So it's also a coming up thing to the science nowadays. That we need to address all these issues if we want to address the rising problem of infertility in at least in the Western world, that we have more of data.
Do you know the typical products maybe, or where we can, for more often can we spot them? Like what to avoid? I was thinking where I can find them.
Yeah, unfortunately, we are going back to the same diet. The most important factor, the elephant in the room. Then personal care products, they are a major source of phthalates, for example, or parabens, which are very well studied as endocrine disruptors. And then it's air pollution as the third source. So unfortunately, there is not a small, group that I could tell you, oh, okay, change the plastic containers in your kitchen. You should do, but it's not only that. Yeah, it's these three factors again. It's these three factors that actually are responsible for our exposure to toxic chemicals. They are also responsible for the exposure to endocrine disruptors.
But we will definitely put the links in the description of the video, but somebody, I would imagine, could, let's say, Google those type of chemicals and see, where you could find them. So
yeah, you can definitely. Actually, you can, use the AI tools. The technology is giving us now AI tools. A very nice AI tool to use for citizens is the Consensus. It's an AI tool that actually makes better sets through the literature, so you don't need to go to PubMed. So if you just Google, if you just use the Consensus to ask it what are the endocrine disruptor chemicals, then it will give you a very good answer.
What are the top 3 products, if we're talking about the diet, let's face on that factor? What are the top 3 products that you would suggest to avoid in pregnancy? And probably nobody talks about it too much.
Yeah, so if we would focus just on the diet, I would say that the most important thing that to be avoided, and no one talks about it. I mean, I exclude caffeine and alcohol and smoking, right? Because everyone talks about these things. So I think it's multivitamin supplements. So a lot of pregnant women think that taking all these prenatal vitamins is good for the baby and themselves. Most of the studies we have show that these supplements can even be really dangerous for the baby because they have a very high risk of impurity. So we have a lot of multivitamin supplements being withdrawn for high content of lead, of cadmium. Recently, we had a supplement in Greece being withdrawn for mercury. Wow. So unfortunately, a lot of health professionals also they do not understand what is the risk of multivitamins. If you search online in the official, World Health Organization or National Institute of Health or FDA, you will see that all these organizations have issued warnings against the use of multivitamins, especially during pregnancy. So I would say that that would be the first. Then the second, I would say that it would be fish consumption, especially the big fish, exactly because during pregnancy the baby is in a phase of its life that it's called critical epigenetic window. So it is up to about 2.5 years old. It's the 1,000 first days. It's sometimes described. We are very vulnerable at that time of our lives to the toxicity effects of these chemicals. So, like when I got pregnant to my first child, my midwives here in Netherlands that were following me, they were like, okay, you can eat whatever you want, but when I got pregnant with the second child, they were like, try to avoid big fish, don't eat tuna or salmon or so yes, fish I would say would be the second one. And
Can I clarify here? Because it is polluted and the benefits are not overcoming this.
exactly, because the risks coming from high exposure to certain very harmful chemicals for the baby are bigger than the benefits of getting some omega-3, which you can actually get from another source, also plant-based source.
Even if we're talking about like wild fish, let's say wild
Oh,
salmon.
that is so good. Question. Sorry, that's a very good question because wild fish could be more polluted than farmed fish.
Okay, tell about this. Yes.
Yes, this is also the question. A lot of people think that organic meat is better. Yes, it would have less antibiotics and anti-inflammatory injections probably, but because these animals spend more time at the natural world outside, the natural world is really polluted, as we said. So, like for example, organic grown lamb has been proved in a study to be more polluted than not organic from for a grown lamb. It's the same about milk. So, organic milk can be higher in environmental toxicants than non-organic. So
My world coming upside down.
your world came down. Yes, yes. It's we had some publications here in Netherlands about organic eggs, which were higher in dioxins, like the backyard eggs grown in people's houses were higher in dioxins than the ones which are grown inside a farm.
Okay, so let's come back the big fish and what would be the third product?
So yeah, I said about the multivitamins, and the second is the big fish, especially the fatty big fish, and then I would say it's the animal fat. So because I have a lot of Indian families, I'm married to an Indian, so a lot of my coaching, I always try to focus in a culturally sensitive health coaching. A lot of my clients are, of course, Greeks and from Cyprus, but also a lot of Indian families. So I see that Indian families, especially pregnant women, they eat very often animal fat, which comes, it's the ghee, comes from the cow. This is one of the products that bioaccumulates very high amounts, very high concentrations of the environmental chemicals. So I would say that would be the third.